It's simply watching Thorin channel.
Now, when it comes to 2015, now here's the difference, Chad. Whereas some of those other ones were like, come through a BYOC or get an invite directly, I always say 2015, the two teams that benefited the most from the qualification method, which was, it was a LAN qualifier for all regions. And I always say the two teams that benefited was your team and then Fallen's Luminosity. Because if you'd have just been invited on some like, we are the world, just bringing in everyone, then everyone would have gone, oh, fuck that. That should be like, the joke is everyone would have said, Chad, that should be Dignitas, which is all like MSL and fucking Fetish and Asia. But instead, both your teams beat that team. You actually went to a LAN qualifier and just beat this team online, which was a bunch of like big names. Basically, it's like the squad that had taken over the Dignitas name when the others went to TSM. And this was like the second best Danish team. Like, this means when you qualified, everyone had to just be like, it's legit. Okay, I guess they get to play the major. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I just quickly refreshed my history. The second major of 2024, we did qualify for, but it was just the Oceanic qualifier.
Oh, okay.
So I just want, we just had to beat Team Immunity, which had Yam, who we eventually played with. But yeah, so for this one, yeah, you bang on. So we went to Katowice, which at that point we were quite familiar with. I think we had been there like at least twice before that, and it's in the same yellow and red and black carpeted hotel that that people have probably seen in photos for the better part of the last decade. And there's a really like. Maku from HLTV. People now know him as a photographer, but Maku started as a frag movie maker, right? That's what he used to do for HLTV back in the day, and he took a liking to us, and I think it's something to do with the relationship that Gomez had with him. He made a frag movie it was called Road to Katowice, VOX Eminor Road to Katowice, and I watch that when I want like the wave of nostalgia to hit me, right? And I fucking love that, mate. Like I love watching that. It just reminds me of the glory days. But going to that event, I think at that point, after like a year of understanding what international Counter-Strike was about a little bit more, going into that qualifier, I think we were better equipped. We obviously had gotten Justin at that point as well, which was a huge firepower upgrade to our team. But then across the board with the players, we had a really strong rapport with each other. Like Havoc, Top Gun, me, the bro culture was definitely there. Like JKS, just the quiet kid, but it was cool. He was like our fucking secret weapon. And even though we had him playing what today would be considered all the bad spots, they're the bad spots because they're the hard spots, right? They're boring, sure, but they're the spot where we could leave Justin on his own and we know he's going to get a multi-kill because it's fucking Justin, And Justin was doing what Rops was doing before Rops was on anybody's screens. Justin was a beta. Like, to us, he's a beta. We're all W holders. We're getting in the face. Let's go. Justin clearing every angle and baiting out shots. It's like, come on, bro. Like, stop being a bitch, right? But Justin was ahead of his time back then. And we go to this event, and I think fortunately for us, poor Natu, or not poor, he's a happily married man, had his wedding. So they had to have a stand in there with 3D Max. So we're like, okay, so this Alu team, they're a little bit weaker, but they're still international. It's Finnish CS. I remember watching Tommy's teams. I know how Conti and all those guys, they used to fuck. Like, I had respect for his team. So I'm like, we're not, of course, as an Australian team, we're not taking anybody for granted, but to beat European teams, that's the breakthrough. That's the thing. It's like, sure, Immunity back in the day with 1.6 with like Benor and Gaza and stuff, they'd have a crack, right? But they never really made a dent at those type of events that they went to, maybe get a couple of wins, but nothing crazy. And then going into this, I'm like, well, why can't we, right? Like we definitely can play. The hardest thing is just making sure that we're not getting punished. And back then, people would be counter-stratting, but not to any crazy degree, right? It wouldn't be like name plating. It would just be like, okay, like, do they have an execute that they like? Very, very basic stuff like that. And this is where the remnants of the way I learned to be a leader come into play. Because of Boomzer, when I was playing with him in the CGS days, very momentum-based CS, he would always have 2 to 3 rounds that we would heavily dry run. And then from those rounds, he could call variations. He would just like make a change. He'd be like, okay, so instead of you doing this, you do this and we finish here. And I was able to build my kind of playbook the same. We would have some dry runs and we'd have some rounds that we like to play. And then I would be able to have these like momentum-based changes. And that's one of the things that I was really proud of with my in-game leading was when we started games, if I called well, we could get up to these really nice leads. Now, I think we dealt with 3D Max pretty handedly, right? I don't think that was like close. I think we dealt with them. But then when we went up against Pimp's boys, that was, had some trouble with Danes at earlier majors as well. And we knew the names. We knew that they shot pretty hard. And we got to Inferno and like we had a big lead, I think, after the first half. I think our T half was actually pretty strong, which again, I'm going to sing my praises here a little bit. Like I had some good like pattern calling and they're chasing the tail. And this is back when you would force buy because you disrespected an opponent, not because force buying felt like it was the right thing to do. So, you're able to kind of get them all a bit flustered and shit. And this is like Pimps boys. They got an ego, right? And then now we're on the CT side and we're having a tough time closing. Like we're having a tough time getting multi-kills and closing rounds, and the game got closer and closer and closer. And then eventually we did it. And in this frag move that I was referencing, you can see like the people sitting and watching our game as I'm going fucking nuts, like yelling like an absolute moron. You see nothing there in the background, standing up when we're winning rounds and shit. And we were the underdog story at the time. So to like topple 2 European teams in a qualifier to then get us to the major, it was kind of like hey, like you can stop talking shit now. Like I know we were bad, but look at this. Like this was like a breakout moment, I thought. And yeah, mate, that fucking movie, I reckon there's probably like 10,000 views on it. I reckon most of them are probably me.
No, it's the thousand.
It has to be. It has to be. Like I love that shit. That shit gets me going.
Now at this major, spoiler, again, the old gods of death gave you the group that had Fnatic, best team in the world, and then peak Guardian Na'Vi. So you were never getting out. But here's where you fucked up, Chad. You keep referencing from the next one, Cologne. You keep referencing that Titan game because you worship existence like me. None of these kids know existence is. The game you want to reference is in this group, Chad. You beat 16-2 Blade. All you need to say is Blade. Don't mention the other players. It's a pretty bad player. Just say you 16-2'd a Blade team. That's kind of cool.
Them. Yeah, I think I was towards the top of the scoreboard as well. Like Cash was one of our maps. The thing is, like when you would play it against Americans, like they would just default and their aim was so good.
I noticed you actually say Cash now. What happened to you? What have you become? Cash or whatever it was.
yeah, I don't even remember how I used to say it.
That was it. You said Cash all the time. It's true.
Fucking hell. But yeah, that game right there, that was a pretty good win, I thought. Yeah, like because Blade obviously has always been known for being the tactician and stuff, but it was a map where this is Tech 9 meta. Like this is where you're like boosting 3 guys up and running over mid with good flashes and smokes that are from spawn, and you're able to just steamroll over players. And yeah, we just had a really, really strong show, and we were mega locked in that game. I forget who we played after that.
Na'Vi, and then they beat you.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Understandably. But by the way, kind of the point I'm making here, you'll notice is it's not like you went and then you just played like the worst other team there and then they beat you. What would happen was you could have put if this had been a land with like half as many good teams, you could have had a chance to get out of a group. But every tournament you go, and it's like 2 people that could be in like the semis of the final are in your group. And back then, as you're saying, like the gap was big between the top. Like it wasn't like in the modern day, where fucking people like the idea like there's no such thing as a legacy beats vitality back then, man. That's not even conceivable, right?
Yeah, I think like we were such big underdogs in a lot of these games. Like I'm looking at it now. Oh my God. So we got 16-3'd, and we won 16-2. Like what the... And look at both of those games, Duncan. It's fucking Inferno, and we start on the T side. Like this is...
Also back when it was CT side as fuck, yeah.
Yeah, like what are you meant to do? Like
yes.
Bad veto, I guess. Like maybe I should have tried to veto away. I wonder if the vetoes are still here. Like what were we even between? It doesn't show. But remember this as well. When Overpass and Cobble came in, think of how small the Australian player base is. We had to pick one of the two. You couldn't ban both, and then you couldn't get practice. Nobody wanted to play on those maps. Yep. So it kind of left us in a tough position there too. As much as give me half the knowledge I have right now and transplant me back in my body. Then I'll make a different go of it. Mate, I wish I just knew a little bit of what I have in the brain now. I feel like it could be a different story, but that's not how the world works, unfortunately.
Now, the event that put VOX Eminor on the map was one. There's a Gfinity Masters Spring 2. And actually, here's the thing. This is where you got to be the esports story mix. I was there, so I actually can tell you the story. And what's sad is people are going to think, because at the end it goes, you came fourth in a 5-team group. Who gives a fuck? No, that's not the story. You've missed the whole story. Here's what actually happened. First, it was a weird format where you had a round-robin group. You play everyone once, but you play them in a best of 2. So you just play 2 maps, and that's it. Which, by the way, way, I could have already told the organisers that's going to lead to a lot of fucking draws, you idiot. You picked the format with draws, and then you picked an actual like match system that produces draws. So surprisingly, there was a bunch of draws. So and only the two teams made it out. But this is the actual story of how it went, Chad. So you played Fnatic first, literally major winners, best team in the world. You won the first map, narrow loss on the second. So already, by the way, that shouldn't be. That's like you could have won that, but it's like 1-1 maps, and you've drawn a series. The next one you played TL when TL actually had a bunch of players people know, but they hadn't actually gotten good at international tournaments. They bombed it, you wrecked them 2-0. Then you played NIP. They were just in the major finals. They're considered like second or third best team in the world. You win a map against them. Admittedly, they win a club. But that means, by the way, after the first map against NIP, you're in a world where it's like we're up like we've had like 4 maps and lost 1 so far. Like, bro, like we're fucking flying. And at the event, the whole vibe was like, is this team actually going to like miracle make the playoffs of this? Now look, off of that, you then drew that one, lost the other map there, and then you lost to Navi, who admittedly was very good at the time. This is the same team from the major. But I've alluded to there, 1, there was a period where it would have looked like you were going to get out. And then 2, you must always think back on that Fnatic game now, because really, if you did somehow finish that second map, you probably would be in the playoffs of this event.
Yeah, I think one of the things that resonated with me the most after that Fnatic series was when we went to go shake hands with them, Olaf, right, who was just the MVP at the major. He'd said to us, he goes, we've never been shot that hard, right? And the level of confidence that we played with, because this is when we had Yam in the team. So when Yam comes in, he had played 1.6 international events under Immunity, right? So he had already had a bit of international experience against some of Europe's finest, and he did boot camps and stuff against those guys too. And he came in with this like cockiness to him, right? Because I like to play fast momentum-based Counter-Strike on the T side, but he brought that to the CT side. He was like, why are we scared? Like, I wish I could use some of the words that we'd use to describe, the enemy, but he would be like, why are we scared of these guys? Let's just fucking fight them. And that's what we did. Like, we never backed down from anything. Like, we always had like an opener or two around. It's another one of the things that I talk about on the desk or on the cast is dictating the tone of a game, right? You look at like the way Falcons lost over at the major, they weren't dictating the tone of the game, right? And what we did as an underdog team, we came in and we dictated the entire tone of every single round. Like we knew exactly how we wanted to approach it, where we wanted to punish. We weren't waiting for something to happen to react. We were already reacting, right? And that's where we were able to really catch a lot of these teams off guard. And then halfway through the game is when they go, oh shit, like we have to pull our shit together now, right? And that's where, for some of them, it was too late. Like we could have 2-0'd NIP, I think, right? Like the second map, I feel like it was a blowout. 16-5. No, it was Fnatic. We could have 2-0'd.
Yeah,
yes,
literally.
Yeah, the NIP game. Like I remember, we did a couple of things because Train, I think, had just come in, or maybe not just come in, but had some big tweaks to it, and that's where Anders had done a few of his smoke walls.
Yes.
And I was like, fuck it. Like, I was like, let's just geek out on a few of these things. Like, let's grab a couple. And I remember same thing. Like, I'd have some patterns that I could call from the smokes, but we'd be doing stuff. We'd miss a smoke, and I'd be like, that's fine. Let's just go. We played TSM. I think this was at Cologne. And we did the smoke wall, but we missed one. And then me and Azza got out pop, and we killed a guy through the smoke. And I was like, well, let's just go connect it to B. And like, we were just like, everything kind of just worked, and it wasn't what teams were expecting. And we just had a really good confidence to us at that time, which, Gfinity was awesome. Like that was another one of those. And I wasn't playing like a bot too, which was soon me playing like a bot is where the story gets very sour. But I wasn't a full liability all the time. There were definitely games like any in-game leader you'll see today, I was a liability, because the hard part for me was not like calling rounds that I had built. It was adjusting in mid rounds, because in Australia, you don't have to adjust in the mid round. No one would do the right thing. You would just win, right? And if we'd call a round opener, if that didn't work, Justin or Top Gun or Yam or Havoc or whoever would just kill everybody. It's like we didn't have to worry about that. And then in Europe, to learn and understand like mid-rounding, you don't get many opportunities. So you do it in practice and you try to identify it, but it's not the same as in practice of the actual game. And that's probably where things started to get a bit out of control for me. But yeah, these games I think were based off of us not being afraid of who we were playing, like fucking off the names. After this event is where Liquid came to us and they said, do you want to be our European team? And we were like, what? Right? What do you mean? Do you European team? And that's when obviously Monty came to us with the Renegades thing too, and we had that decision to make. and we knew it was going to be a problem because ESWC was coming up. And if we had a liquid European team and a liquid NA team, both of them couldn't go to ESWC. And I was like, I know liquid, but I don't want to get in a situation where they're picking the North American team over us.
Sure.
I think we need to keep the opportunities open. But yeah, that event was awesome, right? It was you, Scoots, Richard. That was the desk. And it was a lot of fun because it was when it was the cinema, right? And we kind of were in those weird little like cinema booths, and there were people watching and stuff, and it was really cool. So Gfinity was a fun event, and we got to practice there early. They had some like prac PCs, and we were pracking with Envious at the time, who was there. We were getting in, and we became friends with like Hastro and stuff back then, and we were making some good relationships with those guys. And that was cool. Being in the UK was really cool. You get Justin his Dunkin' Donut coffee and a Mars bar or whatever it was, and you let him go, man. He fucking fragged up a storm. You kept that kid happy.
Well, this is what I want to ask about, because this was also the breakout event for JKS. Because by the way, in these games where you're playing, it's him winning like 1v3s and fucking multi-killing people. And I have to say, like, just like everyone does it now, even, right? Like when I see Link Vision, I'm like, right, they're actually finally winning games. Let me sit down and figure out which one player's good on this team, because there's no way they're all really good. I've watched them play the odd game, but there must be one player here, and spoiler, there's always one. There's always one who's a bit shit hot, or, you know, actually maybe like they haven't been soured by losing a million times. And if people don't know, compared to some of the people in your team, it just seems also like the baby, right? He's like 20 years old, maybe. He was really shy back then, by the way. He never talked to anyone, no fucking interviews, nothing. And he's just this guy where he was just, like I say, he was winning clutches, he was multi-fragging. You said it earlier, but I'll ask more explicitly. It sounds like you guys did get it, of like, right, we have to give this motherfucker everything he wants, play around his style, set him up, and he's going to be the star, sort of?
Well, we knew he was the best fragger for sure, right? Like that was without a doubt. I think he was, when we picked him up, he was 18. So at this point, he has a late birthday too. So he could have still been 18 going on 19. So he was just a baby, right? And yeah, a bit more introverted. You know, once you're in the server and you're in TeamSpeak, that's where his personality changes. I think it's probably like Brokey in a sense. Like when I talk to people like Yanko or players that play with Brokey, like, yeah, Brokey in server is a different guy to the guy you get in interviews and whatnot. But yeah, we knew that he was the biggest fragger. And you know how I spoke about the positions before, right? People critique, oh yeah, Apex, why does he play connector on Mirage? Well, like that's what I did because I could read the flow of the game the best from connector. I could see what was happening in middle. I could help out A. I would be able to make calls better for where we need to rotate, right? Where we need to hedge. So Justin would play a lot more extremity positions. He would be a lurk on the T side and he would be anchoring on the CT side, which meant organically he was left in clutches. Right. So it worked out nicely that when he was rotating back on the CT side, you know, and the chaos is going on and it goes down to a 1v2 or a 1v3, our comms, like communication was something we used to do drills. Like this is one of the things that Boomser used to do that I fucking loved. Because practice in Australia was shit. He knew that. So what he did was he would do these drills, and these drills would be when we were practicing in a LAN environment and we were all together, we would not have any sound. We would only communicate. There would only be comms. You would not use any audio cues. So decisions that you made had to be based off of logic of how the other pieces were moving.
Interesting.
He also ran drills with no utility, right? He would say, okay, we're going to play these rounds as if we have no nades, like just none. So you're going to sit and you're going to wait for the opening util to go, and then we're going to play with no nades. And these drills would kind of, you know, help you get to play the game in a different state. And I tried to bring that into some of the stuff we did with VOX as well. But with Justin, I don't know how I got to that. I don't know where I was meant to be going with that. It just popped in my head. But either way, yeah, with Justin, because of these extremity positions that he was playing, he was always the guy coming in with the clutches and stuff. Now, it's pretty frustrating from a team perspective because it feels like quite baity. But when he's delivering in the matches, it doesn't matter. Obviously, as things developed, I remember there was one time I was fed up with him fucking baiting on Cobble, or at least the way I perceived it. I remember we were in just like a prac or something, and I was like, Justin, you're going to run drop this round and you're going to die. And he's like, what? I'm like, you're going to run drop and you're going to die, and we're all going to stay alive. And you're going to watch the rest of us for the rest. And I just remember like in a practice making him run drop down on Cobble and just die. And it's like, I kind of had to beat a little bit the baitiness out of him. But yeah, we knew he was the best without a doubt. Like, it wasn't even close in terms of, you look at his spray control, right? Like,
oh, he's really good.
I know people talk about get right, but Justin's M4 spray control was fucking insane. Like this kid, he was nuts. Like he was without a doubt the best player in Australia. That's why we picked him up. And That's why we replaced Sniper with him. Like it was like, oh, we have to get this guy. If we don't get this guy, like eventually he's going to beat us on his own. Eventually he's going to like 1v5 us, and we need to get him. So yeah, at that point, I think Justin had probably been in the team for over a year, maybe about a year at that point. But yeah, like we knew that he was a big win condition for us for sure. Like because Havoc back in the Source days was a monster. He was probably like the Justin of Source. He was a monster back in the day, but it didn't translate as well for Luke down the stretch. I don't know. I guess we didn't identify like positional Counter-Strike as much as we do these days. But when you think about it, some of those things probably impacted him. Like if he had to anchor A on Mirage, that's not really a spot for him. He's more of a rotator, right? So, and I reflect on it, I probably wasn't setting my players up for success in all the scenarios for sure.
I have a follow-up because I obviously want to ask, we can just bundle topics together, about JKS after this when he went into the international teams, because I've got a piece of lore for people because I'm the esports historian and people don't get this. I not only know the history, I was usually there. I'm like the guy who said something to someone and then he said it, and the joke is I write it like it's history. I'm the one who said the shit. So anyway, the story with JKS goes, if people don't know why they think Richard Lewis hates JKS, none of you know. You all think some weird thing like, it's because he was in G2 and he wasn't fragging that. No. The real reason is when he went to Complexity. Remember when that happened? When 100 Thieves broke up, and what happened was Complexity at the time, they had all those like expensive fucking players. They made him one of the highest paid players in the world. He had a monster salary because this is an example, ties in what you're just saying here, but not getting like what people's jobs are. They just took it as, what is HLTV top 20 players, one of the best players. Look at his spray. So what they did is bring him in, make him mega well paid. If you don't know, guys, fucking Richard's really good friends with Jason Lake. He's the sort of person he'll talk to about this shit. And actually, if everyone doesn't know, the time he was in Complexity was probably the worst part of his career. He was fucking really bad stats, very low game impact. And so I think, my speculation here, Richard saw that period and was sort of like, this guy hasn't done it. This is like being a really expensive signing in football. And then you don't score any goals. And what people might not get is why I asked that question before, is the amazing thing about JKS's career is he isn't just a fucking turret / a fragger that you just throw in the game. The problem I think happened in Complexity is if you have a look at the positions he played, this guy just obviously did not, I think he even admitted it in my reflections, he didn't fight for his own case. He just let them move him around to whatever spot they wanted. And I assume people like Blame F just took his fucking lurk spots, and God only knows, then Cold Zero was in the team. How many fucking lurkers do you want in the team, by the way? So by the end of it, he's just doing whatever's left over, and he's just having mid-ass results, because by the way, it wasn't a great team. And so sadly, I think this is why people think he's shit, whereas I've always said the genius of JKS's career is he was really good, by the way, if you want to go like 2017 to 2019, that sort of time. And then after that, if you look in G2, he's just in his perfect spot. That's why I always said that Huxley team. So I've never given Huxley credit because, bro, you not only had, for me, a super team, you had a super team of actual players at each of their fucking positions. Like, again, your fourth best fragger is JKS anchoring fucking sites and lurking. Like, yeah, bro, at that point in time, I think you're going to win some fucking tournaments. I think if Nico Bonacy on the team, Hunter's really good back there. Like, it just makes sense. So people maybe don't get that one of the things about JKS is, this kind of just, again, people, you're a role cell. He's a fucking role cell. He actually, there's a style and a way of playing CS that if you let him play, he is really fucking good at. And even at the very end, people will know it right to the end of G2. He'll still win your clutches, mate. He'll just give you like 2 clutches on a Mirage game where you're like, thanks, that actually won me that game. Like, there's something about this guy. He does have a special quality, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think like it goes back to what I was mentioning earlier when the rest of us were a bit more aggressive in W Counter-Strike and Justin being more particular about things, right? A lot more cautious in his gameplay, a lot more letting the game come to him, right? And you can see that still in the modern day. And I think that that's one of the, like, he plays a thinking man's Counter-Strike, but is still mechanically very sound. And I think that's what, made him special, because in the clutches, he would wait for people to make the mistake, right? You look at a lot of his clutches, it's less him forcing the mistake, it's more them making it and him punishing it. And I think that when he is mechanically so strong, if you do make a small mistake, he punishes that small mistake, whereas somebody lesser is not going to be able to accomplish the same feat. And he's also like a scholar of the game. I think this is one of the things people... Right, like Justin is always playing and always learning, right? Like he hasn't been on a team now, well, how long has it been? Since this Liquid stuff, so for the better part of this year, right? But he would get on every day and he would go jump in a server and he would watch demos and he's always looking at the smokes and he's like always playing pugs. And playing pugs is actually the least thing that I'd give him props for, because that's the fun part. Like, but always staying on top of his positions or positions he'd like to play and learning and watching, and he's still doing that to this day.
Oh, wow.
And I've had some talks with him over the years when things have kind of gone wrong with the teams that he's in. This is probably post complexity. And I always love to give him a good pep talk or whatever, because I know how good he is, and I know that he's aging. He's an aging player now, and I don't know how many more years, if any, output he's going to get and where he's going to end up. But I would always say to him, because sometimes like, well, maybe I should just quit and go back to Australia. And I'm like, you could do that, but you're still very good. Why would you do that? And you still clearly love it, right? He's not someone who's just there to take paychecks or anything like that. There's stuff that I wish I could say, but he's told me not to say like choices or things that have like impacted the way that he's like left teams or made his way onto other teams. I think
By the way, I'll just say, if he's watching this interview, that listen, if you watch my interview with Stanislaw, that doesn't do you any favours, mate. I know you think it doesn't cause drama, because I've had the same thing, Chad. I've asked him, he's given me the whole breakdown, like, this man can do something straight fire with this. Oh, don't say anything about that. It's like, oh, mate. What happens when you don't say it is people just assume you're shit, or no one wants you, or it's you. I know it sounds harsh because you don't want to rock the boat, but you sometimes have to fight for yourself like that. You have to get it out there somehow.
Yeah, but he really hates the spotlight and the social media. Like, you spoke about it before, and he really doesn't like any of that type of stuff. That doesn't mean he doesn't consume it sometimes, because I know it pisses him off. But like, I think that he doesn't want to play that game, and I get that. But I agree with you. It's like, if you don't get your story out there, it doesn't. I think the other part is like, if you don't go first as well, it's so much harder at that point to try and recruit like the way that you're looked at publicly. I think the time and complexity is definitely a clash with Blame F, right? I think that's without a doubt. And then throughout down the stretch, the one that I'll never understand, and the one that I'm so bitter about. Yeah, but like, it's not even the lack of communication thing. Like, whatever. Like, you know, I do podcasts. Sometimes I'm having a bad day.
No, of course. Listen, by the way, I also do not think that was the reason, Chad. I know what you mean. That's the smoke screen. I'll just say this. I've heard some people in the team just didn't think he was good and just didn't want him or whatever.
Which to me, it's like,
wild, isn't it?
I have a hard time. I have a hard time like trying to reconcile that, because when they say, oh, he didn't talk enough, and like Swanee said it in interviews and other people have said it in interviews, I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? You have Hooksy, who's the in-game leader. You have Nico, as one of the most vocal riflers in the history of the game. You have Monacy, a young kid who's an AWPer who you'd want to call his own shots, and Hunter, who's an active lurker. What do you want Justin to say? Like, when I heard that, I just like, I'll defend this kid until the fucking cows come home. I don't give a fuck. But that's the shtick against him. Oh, he didn't talk enough. It's like that. Look at the shit that he shovels in these teams. As a player as class as him, he'll throw the setup flashes on Ancient to get you out mid. Then, after he's thrown the insta window, the flashes, now he'll go over to B, where you've left the bomb outside the doors. He'll pick up the bomb, and because you are Nico or whoever's going in second, you need somebody to trade. So Justin goes in first. And if he goes in first and doesn't die, then he plants the bomb and probably gets spammed. Right? There's so many details that go into Counter-Strike, and you're bang on. Like, he should have fought for himself more within these teams. But I think because the type of guy he is, he didn't push back. Same thing with like Liquid. You know, oh, we'll change spots. He'll do this. He'll do that. And then when the wheels fall off and things don't look good, it's like, well, it's his fault. It's like, we changed position like 3 times in the span of like 3 months. And the one that irks me the most about the Liquid situation is they benched him. And we all know why they benched him. I think that they would have preferred to have kept JKS over NAF, considering
they wanted to keep the spot, obviously, and it was NAF and all that jazz. Yeah, there's a lot of other reasons, sure.
But why not, as an org, come out and say, right, you don't have to own it, because if you own it, then you might make NAF feel bad. But come out and say, like, we're benching JKS. He's been fantastic with the team. He's helped out a lot with this. Like, give him some shine publicly, because his stock tanks. So nobody wants to fucking buy him. So even if you're Liquid, you can't get rid of him. Yeah. And I know for a fact that Justin's not a bad teammate. Like, he was never a bad... Look, sometimes he gets a little bit snarky and bitchy, right? But everybody does that, right? They're just in different degrees. And that's the bit that bothers me, I guess, about the Liquid stuff, is I don't want them to come out and say, oh my God, he's the greatest player ever, you should buy him. Like, that just seems disingenuous as well. But at least something where it's kind, because he did a lot within that short period of Liquid to try and make it work. He knew going into that it was going to be tough, right? With Twist as the in-game leader, that nobody knew how that was going to work out. So yeah, anyway, enough JKS glazing.
I have one more
this one
JKS question, though, which is when you've brought this guy in as an 18-year-old and then you've watched him play in your teams, you've tried to play around him and figure out his game, blah, 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 then you've helped him over the years as a friend. Bro, how bonkers is it that if we now look at the resume, just 2 Katowices and a Cologne. By the way, if people don't even know, this is like an inside industry joke. There's even that woman who worked for ESL where, hey, Katowice, you all say Katowice, whatever the fuck, you all fuck it all up as usual. Bro, the idea he's won 3 prestige events is ridiculous. Essentially, by the way, that is sort of like everyone who said he was shit after call. Like, yeah, eat that, mate. There you go, up yours.
Yeah, I think when I look at the events that he's won, and even before that, when you were there, right? The Starlight Berlin Major when they made it to the semis,
yeah, and they should have been in the final. Right? I don't even give a fuck. They should have been in the final, mate.
They could have been, for sure. And there was even like that Beijing event where they made it to the final. They got fisted by Australis, of course, but like they were good, like as the Aussie team, even though it was just as a JKS and Liaz as the Aussies, then Grat as a New Zealander, and Jacob, RIP Jacob. But yeah, like they were really quite fun, and I was very proud of them then. But then when Justin did the stand-in stuff for FaZe, and he won that event, like that one, I remember
he had to stand in for 2 different positions.
Yeah. Well, that one got me a bit like I didn't ever think that we would see the day like an Australian player would ever win a title like that.
No.
And that one got me all teary-eyed to see him win, because for me it was not just the fact that I'm his friend and I want to see him succeed, but it's also like all these years of Counter-Strike and all those people that I referenced before, and even just like locally, and I know a lot of the players like in Australia from the eastern states and stuff. There's so many names, I could go over them, it would take me hours. But this is essentially what him winning is built upon, because Justin's a 1.6er. He's a grinder. He's playing in all those things. Like he's so attached to the old school. People might have seen that picture where he's like fucking 6 years old or whatever, sitting on some books at a LAN cafe. Like he's lived and breathed this thing, and to see him go on to have that success as a stand-in, right? It doesn't hit as hard, but as G2, I was like, at G2, I kind of was starting to expect wins. You know, when he was in that team, I was like, this is a team where you should be winning, right? Like, so I was still obviously proud of his results and stuff, but that was the team where it's like, okay, you're considered a world-class player in this team, right? In 100 Thieves or Renegades or whatever, you were a very good player, right? You were a very, very good player, but you were the star of an Australian team, and people will always look at ways to detract from that. But then within G2, like, there's no question that he was having output. Like, people bring up the stats and shit. It's like, okay, go for it. Like, but you look at what role he facilitated within the team and the output he would have and the swing rounds he would have, and him and Hunter as these two, like,
plus I think maybe the second Katowice, the G2 one, I think that one even actually had mad numbers, mate. I think he even put up fucking numbers on that one.
Yeah, he did. So to see him do that, mega proud of the kid. And he does the same. Look, I'm going to use the term sacrifice. I don't even think that's the right term. I think that it might just be weak, and I need to come up with something a little bit better for it. No, it's not sacrifice. It's the choice, right? He makes the same choice as me in life, in the sense that if you want to be part of Counter-Strike at the highest level, you need to be based in Europe. It will not happen in Australia. Yeah. Justin lives in Europe full time, and he has done pretty much.
Which, by the way, I always go out of my way in these interviews to point out is no small thing. By the way, think about my boy Elish. He basically waited until it was the last chance saloon to go, okay, I will now deign to live in Europe where CS is played. Mate, you guys basically were just living most of the time. Put it this way, Jacob himself told the story. When he lived in America, he almost forgot how to speak Norwegian when he went back home, Chad. Like, that's how different it is to be away from home in a fucking Airbnb or an apartment. You're not just going for a month in a boot camp. You just have to live away from home, and then every time you go for the visa, it's like 700 hours flight. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that it's like... I don't want to make it a big thing because
kind of is though.
Like people, you're right. I guess I just think of the fucking parrots on Twitter who want to detract anything, right? And like, you know, just be for the sake of it. But yeah, to be away from home all the time and to not be around the family and everything like that, a lot happens while you're gone. And you know, every time I go home, I've made more of an effort these days to go home once a year for Christmas for like 6 weeks after the last event and before the season kicks off again. And that's the most time that I've been spending at home in the last decade, essentially, right? And
that is a sacrifice, but that means you can't have an Australian girlfriend. You can't be around your friends. By the way, the best thing about CS as a pro, you're not League of Legends. You can go home if you're Device. You could just have like a girlfriend in your home fucking town if you want and chill out with your mates, then go and win the major.
Yeah, I think like that's the thing. So there's, and obviously the quality of life in Australia is really quite high, and it's something that like it's not that you
people love
can't get
living
it in
there.
other places in the world. You can definitely get it in other places, but there's obviously just something about your home and the fact that Australia is so nice. So it does. It does definitely take a toll sometimes, but I think at the end of the day, the pursuit of what Justin is doing or what I'm doing, right? That's what our lives have been, is Counter-Strike. So to make the choice, it's a no-brainer of a choice, really. Like when I think about it, it's like, do I want to be at home and see my family? And I've got a nephew and a niece now, and they're growing up. And do I want to? There's all of that. It's like, yeah, that would be nice, but I can't have Counter-Strike there, and that's why, like, the choice for me, at least as far as the future goes now, is let's stick to the thing that I'm doing. And I feel like Justin's probably the same. I think he would want to keep, like, hey, you don't want to go back to Australia and try and play Counter-Strike. In deathmatch there, I'm a god, right? Like if I'm a god in deathmatch, that's terrible. I'm a 35-year-old man. That is not good. Like, you're queuing for half an hour to play a pug. You're playing against the same 15 people all the time, right? I'm obviously over-exaggerating that a little bit, but you're not going to get the same, like even just playing European pugs now. Like this is what I dreamed of as a fucking 16-year-old kid, to play Counter-Strike against the best players in the world, and the best players in the world are here. To load up Face It, I loaded up Face It the other day. Me, Aaron, and Justin, we queued with QB and JDC. And it's like, this is sick. Everybody knows how to play CS. Like, we're playing it. It's like, it's the most fun I'll have. Like, it's awesome. So, yeah, the sacrifice definitely gets made, but it's a choice that I would make over and over again. That's for sure.
Well, along those lines, let me just skip to asking you a question about that, which is one thing people might not know is you actually did benefit from the whole Commonwealth angle, because I believe it's your dad is English, and so you were able to just actually, if people don't know, you can just get a British passport as a result, and so you haven't even had to do the nightmare thing of like the million times back for the bloody visa. Like you can actually just basically live in Europe and the European Union, right?
Yeah, so my dad, he's what's called a 10-pound pom. So when he was about 2 or 3 years of age, his parents, an older brother at the time, they got on a boat and they went to Australia because there was a trade shortage. So his old man came over and was a plumber in Australia. And then my old man grew up in Australia since he was 3. He went back to the UK for a couple like short stints, but nothing ever crazy. And because of the way that it works, when you made that move back in the, I guess it was the 60s, you didn't actually need to become an Australian citizen to stay. Your visa is for life.
Oh, wow.
And so he never had to become an Australian.
So he's not technically actually Australian.
No, he's just British. So
does he fuck with the fact that you live in Europe now? Does he like it?
Well, I don't know. They're going to come visit me in a couple of days, actually. My parents have just headed over to Portugal to go on a cruise. So he doesn't sound British at all, mate. Like he's got an Aussie accent. Like, because he's been away for so long. But I think, still a bit of him holds the pride of the British flag and everything along those lines. But
by the way, that's not a meme, mate. If people don't know, everyone will think that'll be some old school shit. Like, I'll give you an example. I once went to a bar when I lived in Korea that was run by some Australian guy. And then, look, I'm not even the person back then, but I'm not now. But even back then, I would never talk to the fucking bartender, mate. You get the bar and you talk to your mate or whatever. But then this guy heard my British accent. So he starts going, oh, hey, where you from, mate? And I'm like, oh, it's, the northeast or whatever. And he goes, got the old mum up there, points at a picture of the Queen. I'm like, what the fuck? So that's real. That like fucking sort of like warm feeling towards the mothership or whatever is real. That's a real thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think of it. Like I don't spend too much time at home, but it definitely still exists. Otherwise, we've had a bunch of referendums in Australia, right, just to become our own country and move away from the monarch and everything, and everybody keep voting no. So there's definitely something about it. Okay. I think we love. Like, obviously we do things like the Ashes and everything like that, and that connection, it's always a bit of, lock and horns with it. But I think it's all in good fun, right?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Just, I think I very rarely go to the UK, but moving, so what ended up happening was when I first started talent work, I already had my British passport in 2016. And that made moving obviously in and out of like the places within Europe quite easy because of the Schengen stuff, right? And then when I first did the first year and a half, I was just living out of suitcases. I remember one of them I left in the ESL office and I traveled with the other. And then when I would go back to Germany, because we're in Cologne so often, that I would just change out stuff from the suitcase and keep going. And that's back in 2017, where we could literally go from event to event without needing to go anywhere else. And when I did, I just went on like a little mini vacation on my own. You know, like I went to Rome, or, you know, I just went somewhere and just checked out the city in between the events. And then come 2018, I moved to Cologne. Like I was just like, well, I know people from ESL, and if I'm going to move to Europe, I'd like to be with people who I know so I can socialize and everything like that. So I moved to Cologne. There was a woman named Anna. You probably know her, Anna Radsvan. Yep.
She's the person who worked with the Story Mob eventually, yeah? Yeah,
exactly. And she was leaving, and I got her apartment. So I just moved, and then I had a woman from ESL called Pat who took me to the, what's it called? Like, I guess like the town hall.
The problem is you have to be able to speak German to register everything in Germany, bizarrely.
Yeah, so she went with me and did it all for me and stuff. And then I just ended up living in Germany for a year. And I got to the end of that, and I was like, well, the weather's pretty shit. It's a bit cold for me. Where can I go? And then being on the road with Henry and stuff all the time, we both were like, well, fuck it. Like we knew Brexit was going to happen. We didn't want to get in a position where we couldn't go and travel to all the European events. So we looked for options. We were talking with another person you would know. It was Sergey from Starladder.
Yeah.
He moved on around that time, but he was looking to move out to Malta. And
if people don't know, because Malta is essentially formerly British, also everyone speaks English there too. It's also banging, right?
Yeah. It's got British PowerPoints, Cadbury chocolate everywhere, same side of the road with the cars and everything like that. So it gets a bit hot in the middle of the day, but other than that, it's beautiful. And then we're like, okay, we can go there. And Henry and I both have like 10-year Maltese visas. So we can just, residency cards. So we can just travel throughout the Schengen and nothing changes. So yeah, that kind of enabled me to keep living in Europe without any worries at all.
By the way, without skipping it on too much, because we'll go back in a second, one last question along those lines. I can also see for you why you'd moved to Malta. Mate, you said it earlier, but it's so nice and Australia. Bro, if there's one thing, I don't mind. I am a fucking golem. I'll live in a cave and play CS and close the fucking curtains, the lights coming in. If you're from Australia, you don't want to be in Germany where it's all grey and like fucking, we have a weekend of sunshine. The rain's come out again. Like, Malta's way better in that sense. It's more your speed, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like the thing is, I keep dating women who are like either British or German and very pasty white, so they can't come out in the sun with me for too long. But I'll love it. I'll just sit out there and get burnt to a crisp. And having the water nearby as well, you can go for a swim any time of day. I jumped in yesterday or the day before, and it was just like bath water out there. It's super nice. Like it's great from that lifestyle perspective, and you don't need a lot of things going on. Like, you know, there isn't a lot going on because it's a small island. But if I wake up every day, I go to the gym, I go for a swim, I come back, I play Counter-Strike. Like that for me, that's a sick day.
Yeah.
Like, I do that.
It's way better than being a plumber back home, mate.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Know? By the way, let's rewind it a second. So if we go back, the other player in this team, this is what's so interesting, Chad. First of all, don't want to sound like a visionary, always will toot my own horn. It's my favourite fucking tune. But I did actually, way back in the day, when this Renegades team exists, say, there's an obvious other route you could do here, which is, why doesn't JKS go to like Cloud9? And why doesn't Azza go to like Team Liquid? I even had the fucking teams down. Because spoiler, you don't put JKS on the team with Hiko. That's not going to work. I even picked the teams right, mate. So the other one people will forget is Azza, because what they won't realise is he didn't have a JKS career. He stayed in the Renegade squad, eventually became the IGL even. We all know that's death for your fucking stats. So sadly, modern kids won't even know this. Azza had some fucking skills too. And this guy, by the way, like you're saying before, this guy pressed W, mate. He wasn't baiting anyone. Like, he had some fucking skills. I feel like this guy could have had a very different career too. By the way, another person, though, maybe not like it seems like a kind of a teddy bear.
Yeah, Aaron's a really nice guy. I think I didn't keep in touch with him as much as I did with Justin. And I think maybe within the last year, like Justin and I started playing a lot of FaZe at Pugs, maybe a year and a bit ago, and then we were like, well, what's Aaron doing? Because Aaron also, he lives in Denmark. He got married to a Danish woman, and we're like, what's Aaron doing? And we're like, well, fuck it, let's message him. And then now Aaron is in Russia's TeamSpeak every day. Like he's like the wallpaper now. Like he's there every day, and we play. Whenever I'm home, we play. We even had Yam with us in the middle of last year because Yam lives in Poland. He met a Polish girl back when he was playing, and he lives in Poland. So we had 4 of the 5 of us from that team just playing pugs nonstop. But yeah, to focus in on Aaron a little bit more, when we initially made VOX Eminor, he was probably like the best space taker, right? And he's he's from the old school Counter-Strike, like me, where the team, like, it comes before stats, right? I think, making sure you're getting traded, or that people are like going in when they should and stuff like those things, you hold in very high regards. And Aaron was always really good with the comms. He was always, willing to get stuck in for a fight, and he was a good soldier that I could send into lots of duels, and very, very confident. He was always an aimer. And then like his development as a player into in-game leader, I guess that probably came more out of necessity. I think, like me, when I reflect on some of my issues, I had problems with communicating, right, as a lot of young men do. And I think Aaron probably would have had some of the similar problems when he took over the leadership role from the team. But I think the fact that he took that position, and as a leader, I think, we've mentioned some in-game leaders, like Apex, for example. You can be a space-taking in-game leader. And because his ability was still good enough, like, he was able to be that type of a guy, to get stuck into zones on the map and be able to call from those positions. And I think when I look at their run, especially going into that Star Ladder Major, they also had a pretty decent run at Katowice that was earlier that year as well. One of the keys to that was just the sheer amount of time that they'd be spending in Europe doing boot camps. And that really got them up to speed at like quite a rapid rate. But yeah, Aaron, there was obviously talk about those two going to different teams at certain points. I don't know how serious it ever got in terms of like if they were ever close to making those type of moves. But I'm glad for my sake that they stayed with me, because if they went elsewhere, I think Australian Counter-Strike wouldn't have gone anywhere near the heights that it did. And I understand these days it's not very good, but hey, you got to have your peak somewhere. So sure. Aaron was a really good teammate, a really, really nice guy, all around lovely human. I think like it's hard to say a bad word about Aaron. I guess some of the things that I've heard is maybe like in recent times could be work ethic, but I don't have that firsthand knowledge. Like I'm not in the server there, and I'm not part of those teams to actually know. But those are some of the things that you hear get discussed. But Aaron was definitely the second star of the team if we're going to look at it from a bit more modern Counter-Strike perspective, for sure.
I'm always rep my set, and the people who've got my back are the following people who support my videos: Matt Pugnaccio Racula, Jason, Jensen Gore, Tosh, Toucan, and the all-time ride or die, Jerky's Minion, isn't it? Special thanks to him. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Want to find out who the upcoming interview subjects are? Do you want to take part in one of those long discussions with me where you set the topics? Maybe you want to ask me a question for my video AMA? Well, all of those perks and more are available at the Patreon link in the description box below. So put your money where your mouth is and join the Scroominati today. You dig?